Hello everyone, welcome back to Creation Up. And today, yes, I had the courage to film something with myself in it. What I'm gonna do today is something I've been wanting to do for maybe a year or two already, but for one reason or another, I never quite got around to doing it. I've been wanting to rank all 104 episodes of Transformers Rescue Bots. Why? For fun. And also because reviews of the show are actually really scarce. I know there is a series of reviews, but they go up only to season 3. And at least on YouTube, I'm pretty sure there's no reviews of season 4, so I decided to do it myself and rank and also review all the episodes. So, how are the episodes going to be ranked? I'm going to rank them based on, of course, enjoyment, how much I enjoyed them as a kid, because yes, I've been watching the show as a kid, and how much I enjoy them now. Also, how well the ideas throughout the episode flow. You're going to understand what I mean when I actually give a more concrete example. And also, how we teach the lesson of the episode, because it's a kid show. We need a lesson for the kids, right? So, without further ado, this video is already going to be very, very long, so let's get started. So, the episode at the bottom of my list, 104, is the 7th episode of season 1, Four Boats and a Baby. As a reminder, I'm going to read the synopsis provided by Wikipedia. Could it be randomly volunteers to watch over dog Queen's robo-baby, a robotic baby that simulates the demeanor and actions of a real baby? While playing back at the fire station, robo-baby throws a rubber duck into the sink, where the toy clogs a sewer pipe, eventually causing a sinkhole to appear in front of the town's bank. While the rescue bots leave the rescue but people inside the falling building and Cody monitors the situation. The robo-baby becomes missing, leaving everyone alarmed. Heatwave, who uses his olfactory senses to locate the robo-baby, climbing up a windmill at the town's windmill farm and save it from the sharp rodders. So why is this episode at the bottom of the list? Because it has a bit of an identity crisis. So the episode starts with essentially Cody wanting to test drive hybrid motorcycle, and Doc Green says that he wants a responsible person, and essentially that is how he ends up babysitting the robo baby. However, as you heard in the synopsis, the robo baby becomes missing. He technically fails the assignment, and yet at the end of the episode, he still gets to test drive motorcycles. And I think he even lies. I don't think he tells Doc Green he lost the rubber baby, even though Doc Green notices the elevated vitals. So yeah, well, I understand Cody's just a kid and he was a little bit hamstrung into this situation. I think maybe the episode would have been better if there were some consequences after he lost the robot baby, even though he did save it. It was safe in the end, but still maybe there should have been some consequence. On spot 103 is episode 24 from season 3, Endangered Species. And here's a quick recap. While birdwatching with Cody, Frankie, and Katie bless a whale, Boulder finds the golden-crested woodpeckers, but were thought to be extinct when news of his reaches Narlaski, where he plans to take advantage of his with visiting birdwatchers. The rescue bots and Burns family must protect the golden-crested woodpeckers at any cost. The message is wonderful. They are protecting an endangered species, and they do it successfully at the end. They are hoping they will reproduce and not be endangered anymore. However, there are some questionable decisions, especially when they basically ignore all their rescue duties to go to Blossom Hill and watch the birds, and in that they actually harm the birds because they put on loud music at one point, and then Kate accidentally lets everyone else know that the birds are there. So while they had good intentions, the actions were a bit questionable, but I suppose you could say this is the lesson of the episode, but I'm not entirely sure. So on spot 102, it's Welcome a Whiteside. Boulder decides that the team needs an animal mascot, but maybe a zoo isn't the best place to find one when they obtain a lion from the zoo. So, as the synopsis says, they start talking about pets, especially pets that are trained for emergencies. And Boulder misunderstands that he can adopt a pet from the zoo. And they actually go break into the zoo and get a lion, which backfires quite horribly, but regardless, it wasn't their brightest decision. Although I think they do acknowledge that in a later episode. I don't remember which one, but I know they do poke fun at that. And I am willing to forgive the bots compared to what happened in Four Bots and a Baby, because they generally didn't know what a pet was, they didn't know what a zoo was. Episode 101 is the 9th episode of season 4, May or May Not. Things get very complicated when Chase is elected as the new mayor of Griffin Rock. This is pretty short, so essentially what happens, they are sick of Mayor Lasky, understandably, and they want a new mayor, so they encourage Chase because he really loves following the letter of the law, but he ends up becoming pretty much a tyrant. And the reason this episode is so low is because I feel like this would fit better if it was somewhere in season 1, maybe season 2, not season 4. Now on the spot 100 is episode 20 of season 3, The New Recruits. Graham, Cody, and Frankie investigate the earthquake on Wayward Island, where they find a subterranean ship in the same cave where the Barnes family and the rescue bots find Ira the caveman frozen in ice. They awaken the rescue bots Blur and Salvage and bring them to Griffin Rock to meet Optimus Prime. But on a training session with Blur and Salvage, the rescue bots decide to keep an eye on them. So essentially in this episode, as the synopsis said, they find Blur and Salvage, and the big reveal of the episode is that Blur is not the hero he has been claiming to be, because throughout the entire episode he claims he was the one who saved all the cavemen, that it was Salvage, and he in fact abandoned Salvage. And they find that on the security cameras of their ship. And so my question is, why did they accept Blur to be a rescue team recruit after that? That is not really realistic. I mean, I guess I give him a second chance, but especially knowing what happens after this, I'm not sure it was the best decision. But again, second chances, right? So, on spot 99 is episode 14 from season 4, Hot Rod Bat. Dinny helps Blur find a balance between being a winning race car and being a working member of the Rescue Bots team. Essentially, they have this F1 thing, a racing thing, and they discovered, Danny and Cody discovered that Blur participated despite that being forbidden, because it took place on the mainland and people on the mainland did not know about secret yet. I mean, we don't actually find out in the Rescue Bots Academy, so it was against the rules. So Danny goes, confronts Blur, but Blur convinces her to help him win the race, because it would be easier for him if he had a human driver. And this is another reason why I don't like Blur, if you couldn't already tell. He uses the fact that Danny feels like ignored. He uses this to his advantage, but when the race actually comes, he doesn't listen to anything he says, although by the end he does learn his lesson, so I suppose that is his lesson in the episode, but Yeah, I just in general I don't like Blur as a character. Okay, so on spot 98 is episode 14 of season 3, The Attack of a Hamangalo. Following a fire at the drive-in Vieira's projection booth, Blockbrain gives Mr. Banty a holomorphic projector to replace the movie projector as Kate plans to find a copy of his favorite kaiju movie to give it a test run. During the test run, a power surge from Mr. Banty's microwave interacts with a holomorphic projector. When we catch Ravenous and plan to return it into the movie, the holomorphic projector's control now falls off, causing Hamangalo to come out of the movie as well. Now rescue pods must fight Hamangalo and Ravenous. Yes, it's essentially an episode that pays homage to kaiju movies. I've never watched movies like Godzilla and so on, so I'm not sure how well they did it. However, what I did like, they have some pretty funny jokes. For example, how much sequels are worth. So you can watch it for a good laugh, but it's not very important overall in the series. So, on spot 97 is episode 21 of season 2, Odd But Out. Bumblebee is returning to Griffin for a mission. Blades feels left out when Jamie recruits Bumblebee for a top secret mission that involves finding the liquefier that has been activated upon nailing Peach, establishing an ocean training platform against Miralaski's orders. As a result, my entire island is being liquefied with water geysers and sinkholes occurring. When Bumblebee is busy helping Bumblebee rescue bots, people about to rescue Optimus Prime arrives to help Blades locate the liquefier. So, yes, this is a Bumblebee episode. We all love Bumblebee, of course. And he comes to Griffin Rock only because of this liquefier. In the end, they keep looking for it, but Optimus Prime himself comes anyway, and he finds it with Blades. What is not mentioned here is that, although I guess they mentioned that Bumblebee was busy, he was busy rescuing Danny because Blades was busy finding the liquefier. So basically, the message of the episode is that you sometimes have to rely on others. However, the reason is always because there are several other episodes that essentially do the same thing with Blades. So, on spot 96 is episode 12 from season 3, Chief Woodrow. While Charlie Burns is away at the police conference, Woodrow Burns returns to watch over the rest of the Burns family. Woodrow then takes the command of the rescue pod's team without the entire Burns family knowing about it, where they have trouble with his cooking that involves things he made in the rainforest. After Woodrow's successful rescue strategy save Mayor Lasky's boat, Mayor Lasky makes Woodrow back in police chief, where he eventually helps the rescue pods when some beacons Mayor Lasky was using to improve the Dolphin Wonder Festival get some dolphins back in Griffin Rock's wetlands. The main reason the episode is solo is because the kids were so mean to their uncle. There is literally a scene where they talk some not so nice things about it. Cody is telling them, oh, that wasn't very nice, and that's when he turns around and realizes Woodrow overheard that. So that is the main reason why the episode is lower on the list. But other than that, there are some jokes, obviously, because it's a Woodrow episode and Chief Burns is nowhere to be found to contain those shenanigans. As for 95, we have episode 21 from season 3, Rescue Bots Academy. Cody and Rescue Bots teach Blur and salvage everything we need to know about Griffin Rock and Planet Earth by showing footage of previous rescues. This is the kind of episode that recycles footage. I don't remember the term. I know there is a term, but I don't remember it. But I also know that fandoms usually hate those kinds of episodes. However, in this case, I'd say they integrated it pretty nicely because it's actually strongly tied to the plot of the episode. They use this footage to train the new recruits. So the way they do it is pretty inspired, but nonetheless, it's mostly recycled footage. On spot number 94 is episode 5 from season 3, Unfinished Business. Recalling a mission left unaccomplished prior to their arrival on Earth, Case and Boulder return to space complete with rescue, where they have to deal with an energy tornado. So, in this episode, what they also do, they tell the actual story of how the boats arrived or actually not how they arrived on Earth, but this episode 1, how they got stuck in space in stasis, because the series starts with them floating aimlessly in stasis, and this episode reveals that it was because of an energy emitter or space vampire. The reason it's lower is because the fact that they choose to go on that space mission for essentially no reason, it's not really believable. They simply remember it, and when Keith keeps listening and he happens to hear the message again, so it's a little bit of a stretch. Although I do like that not everyone went, they were reasonable about it. But regardless, because the reasoning was a little bit stretched, it's a bit. So, on spot 93 is the first episode of season 2, Road Trip. Now, I know that this synopsis was a little bit wrong. I'm gonna read it anyway, and then I'm going to correct it. Doc Green and Frank are now aware of a Rescobot's secret. A transporter tube invented by Doc Green takes Cody for a crazy ride and insights Kate to save the day while everyone else is unavailable. Later we find out the transporter is thinking Cody or Kate had planned to have a date with Haley. So I'm not sure why they said it's up to Kate to save the day while everyone else is unavailable, because he himself needs to be saved in this episode because he gets blown away along with Tyler. So actually it's the entire family essentially that finds the MHQ. For season premiere is pretty weak, I'd say, and also we don't even get to see the MHQ apart from 1 hour episode, so yeah, not the best season premiere. On spot number 92 is the 10th episode of season 3, Botastic Voyage. Following the bioelectric chip incident in Endeavour, where to wipe some toasters, Green discovers some bacteria on the bioelectric chip, where it was created in the bacteria-free clean room. He accidentally ingests some scrubber mites, but are on a donut, and the rest robots must go inside his body to save him before the scrub mites eat all the good bacteria and the bad bacteria in him. So I'm gonna keep this one brief. If you loved Magic School Bus, you're gonna love this episode. But other than that, it's not that groundbreaking, because I feel like every kid show, one way or another, has something like this. Am I wrong? I mean, it's definitely a trope, so nothing groundbreaking, but again, very strong Magic School Bus vibes. Okay, and spot 91, we have the 8th episode of season 3, Switcheroo. The bodies of a Burns family, the Green family, and rescue bots are switched by a dangerous nebula in outer space. Now they must adapt to their switched bodies and handle their recent rescue missions while trying to find a way to get back into their own bodies. So, in terms of plot, especially plot of our overall show, this is rather unimportant and interesting. However, this episode will be appreciated by longtime fans because, according to the creators in an interview, this episode was born out of jokes the voice cast did in their recording booth, and knowing that, it's definitely quite a funny episode. In spot 90, we have the first episode of season 3, Land Before Prime. During a training session overseen by Optimus Prime, a pterodactyl disrupts the training session where it is suspected to be the same one from the prehistoric caverns. Upon Doc Green placing a tracking device on it, Rescubots trace it to Wayward Island, which is now filled with dinosaurs. Upon finding a sinkhole there, now Rescubots end up trapped in a tar pit. Optimus Prime learns to become a Dinobot to save them. So this is a similar case to Road Trip. For a season premiere, it's a little bit weak in my opinion. Of course, we bet a lot on Optimus Prime being a big part of this episode, and also on him becoming a dinosaur, but me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of dinosaurs, so this didn't exactly impress me. I mean, the way we handle in the show, there are consequences, that is interesting. And I also really enjoyed the opening scene where all the pairs work together during Prime's test. But overall, for a season premiere, it's quite weak. On spot 89, we have the 5th episode of Season 2, A Virtual Disaster. During a Snow Quitting Blades, play a virtual reality game called Griffin Element Quest 1.0. When the virtual reality game becomes real, Heatwave learns what Blaze has what it takes to be a true hero. So this is the first out of 2 video game-inspired episodes in the show, and this one is the weaker one, in my opinion. First of all, why was Heatwave so mean to Blades? I mean, they've been a team for I don't know how long in universe, maybe about a year, especially if you take into consideration they've been a team even before coming to Earth, and now he is questioning whether he should be on the team. Where did that come from? And other than that, the episode mostly has video game references, which are fun, but in terms of plot, it's not very exciting. It doesn't contribute very much. Well, that depends if you count the other episode, which includes this game. In spot 88, we have the 22nd episode of Season 3, and you hear we finally got to the second part of Blur's introduction. After an incident where Heatwave condemns him to remain in the firehouse until further notice, Blur takes his leave from the Burns family. A solar flare affects all of Gryffindor's technology. When a satellite threatens to crash to Earth, Blur must spring into action to help the rescue bots. Okay, so what I didn't mention in the new recruits is the fact that that episode ends on a cliffhanger where Blur steals the ship and in the process he traps Cody, and this is what the second part begins with. It begins with Cody trying to tell his family that he's trapped, and luckily they save him. And this is another reason why I don't understand why they accepted him to be a rescue bar recruit, because he abandoned salvage all those years ago. Now he clearly does not want to be a rescue bot. He put a minor in danger. So, as Cody puts it in the actual episode, he deserves a lot of chances. Although I do like that he came through in the end. I mean, he basically almost sacrificed himself. So I suppose that earned him the spot as a rescue bot recruit. Although because we have the episode where he still keeps questioning it after that, I'm not really sure. So on spot 87 we had the 17th episode of Season 3, Pirates Ahoy. During Gryffindor's Founders Day event, the Burns family is suspended from their duties by Narlaski, but a connection with Horace Burns and the pirates that is led by Horace's wife Bertha Carnahan is discovered by Huxley Prescott, who got the info from a visiting Woodrow, while Mayor Lasky, Milo, Mr. Albert, and Mr. Harrison from a citizen safety board to take the place of the Burns family with rescue bots, and the Burns family search for Griffin keys to find evidence that would clear the Burns family's name. I really like the message of the episode, but you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but also you don't need to judge a person based on their lineage. That is the more direct message here. Because the Burnses prove themselves time and time again, and Lasky still questions them. That's preposterous. But they make it right by the end. Also, the treasure hunt was really fun. Actually, there were some really clever clues. I did enjoy that as well. The only thing that puts me off this episode is pirates, but overall it's really enjoyable. So, on spot 86 is the 15th episode of Season 3. Feels like us. On the first day of spring, the Burns family and rescue bots stop a landslide. Merlaski establishes Bot Appreciation Day, where anyone who attends will each get a miniature action figure made by Dobrin's 3D printer. The Mayans never reprogram the action figures to steal for them. Rescue bots might steal with action figures, while the Burns family is stuck at sea due to Calvin the poisonous jellyfish. This episode, I feel like it's the kind of episode you will enjoy most if you are a long-time fan of the show. It essentially shows that the bots would be without the Burns family present because they were stuck at sea, as mentioned. I also liked the scenes with Frankie and Doc Green because there is a scene where she takes care of him. She makes sure he gets his sleep. Evan and Miles are back again for I don't know which time. And they use those miniatures still, but they of course use the miniatures for good. In the end, they return everything. So yeah, pretty enjoyable episode. I guess we are in somewhere the episodes are actually really enjoyable. So in spot 85, we have the 7th episode of season 3, Bags in the System. According to Dr. Morocco, Griffin is threatened by mutant metal-eating army ants he had purchased, but the Burns family rescues don't know, so the metal-eating army ants are part of a diversion so that one of his Morbots can spring him from his jail cell. So it's not really according to Dr. Morocco. Griffin really is at risk, and if I remember correctly, he first releases the ants, then he escapes, and when he reveals that this was his plan. Actually, there are a lot of jokes in this episode. How Morocco tricks Barney into giving him essentially everything he needs to pull off this plan. There is also a scene where Morocco is trying to get away in the Morobot and Heatwave is spraying down his engines. Yeah, I wonder what situation that could have helped him. But there are a lot of jokes. It's a more light-hearted Morocco episode, I would say. In spot 84, we have the 10th episode of season 2, What Lies Below, which is the first part of a duology. When Cody's uncle Woodrow comes to visit the Burns family, he claims that there are aliens living underground. Then Cody and Uncle Woodrow are trapped underground. The Burns family rescues with the help of Optimus Prime to rescue them. In the end, the Burns family tell Woodrow the truth about rescuers in Cybertron. So, this is Woodrow's introduction episode. I'm not sure if Woodrow was always planned or he was created for season 2, but he is here. They go underground, although with these... Okay, it's sort of accidental because Woodrow planned it. He wanted to go underground to find the aliens. And Cody is one who accidentally followed him. And in the end, he finds what he's looking for, just not underground. And I guess I should speak about the second part. Yes, which happens to be in spot 83, but rises above. So it's the 11th episode of season 2. I ranked them together because they are essentially the same episode. So the Burns family rise and Optimus Prime find a way back to the surface of Earth. They also find a subterranean location filled with prehistoric animals and cave filled with energon. So they go in the cave, they get separated, and the theme of the episode, both the first and second part, is that Chief Burns and Woodrow have apparently never gotten along that well. And Cody is the one who makes amends between them. And then we also see what the others are doing. Blades, Graham, and Danny, and Boulder, I believe, they were the other group. So they find the dinosaurs, which have a bigger role in season 3. So yeah, overall, it's a really interesting episode, mostly because of a sibling rivalry. That's the more interesting part. Okay, in spot 82, we have episode 9 of season 1, Christmas in July, which is funny because right now it actually is December. So the Burns family and rescue bots have to stop a snowstorm in July when Doc Burns' weather machine goes haywire. Now, it's not really anybody's fault the machine goes haywire. They tried to blame it on the mayor. Actually, that is a funny scene because at the beginning of the episode, Cody is upset that the mayor tried to take credit for the idea of a Christmas in July, and his dad stops him. And then later, when Mayor Lask is asking whose idea was this, Hugh Burns looks at Cody like, I told you. Whose So that was a really funny joke. So in spot 81, we have the 6th episode of season 1, Cody on Patrol. Then Cody and Curtis, Super Curtis' go-kart help in the team's rescue missions, he accidentally unleashes one of the heuristic nanites. So this one's obviously a Cody-centered episode. It's another one of those episodes where he makes a mistake and he has a lesson from it. And this one is way better executed by an 4bots and a baby, because he unleashes the nanites. He clearly regrets it, and then he gets a punishment to fit the crime. He has to help Boulder replant the trees. So I really like how they handled the mistake in this episode. But the only reason I ranked it lower, relatively, it's because sometime in the episode he lost his original motivation. So he wants to help his family, but somewhere along the way it became more about speed. So this is what pulled it down for me, but overall it's quite well executed. So in spot 80 we have the 3rd episode of season 2, One for the Ages. Keith burns sick with a flu, and after Niles and Evans steal a shipment of fintech from the government, Keith takes over while his father recuperates. When an accident with Dog Green stasis machine is got into an adult and there's gains into a little child. So I'm assuming that this episode was made as an homage to the original concept of rescue bots. If you didn't know, supposedly originally Cody was going to be an adult. He was still going to be Keith's son, but he was going to be an adult partnered with Heatwave. You can go look it up on Wikipedia. This comes from comic strip, I think. So they probably are paying homage to that. So how's this episode? It's rather unhinged at times, especially that scene where we go to lower that rocket from the power lines, and Kate, I believe, tells something to Cody along the lines of you've gone from Pip Squeak to Pip Freak or something like that. That was a rather low blow. And another one is Haley sees Cole and she immediately flirts with him. First of all, he's a 10-year-old. Okay, she didn't know it. She didn't know what was, in fact, Cody. And second of all, isn't she taken? Isn't she Kate's girlfriend? And she flirts with someone who she does know is from his family, because they say Cole is Kate's cousin. And she flirts with him in front of what seems to be her boyfriend. So you saved my life. What the heck? However, my favorite one of my favorite jokes in the show overall is at the end when he recuperates. He sees adult Cody, he sees young Kate, and he goes back and says, I'm gonna go back to bed. So in spot 79 we have the 16th episode of season 2, In Search of a Griffin's Nest. While on a hike on Mount Griffin with his fellow pioneers, a brief earthquake occurs when a flying car crashes into Mount Griffin, while Cody Graham and rescue bots go on a quest to Wayward Island to find the mythical Griffin's Nest. Keith burns and Chase investigate a series of metal objects that are being drawn towards Wayward Island. And of course, as you can probably guess, what they find on Wayward Island is directly connected to this series of thefts. This is a rather whimsical episode because they essentially are looking for the Griffin's Nest, which is a legend, and they find a carving of a Griffin's Nest, even though, of course, griffins don't exist, although I would argue that the carving itself is still a rather cool find. Yes, it's nothing too special, nothing too bad, it's enjoyable. In spot 78 we have episode 18 of season 3, Turning the Tide. Optimus Prime's old acquaintance, High Tide, arrives on Earth to teach the rescue bots how to rescue people from the ocean at the time when Mary wants to consumer to investigate the abandoned oil platform. High Tide puts the rescue bots through different drills, while Cody is partnered with High Tide to teach him about Earth's customs. When an oil spill occurs at the oil platform, with Doc Green and Frankie trapped there, upon the faulty wiring setting the oil on fire, the rescue bots and High Tide must work to save them. So, at the beginning of the episode, High Tide is a big jerk. So he's friends with Optimus, he teaches the boss, but he is really mean to them, and it all boils over when Blades goes to save a trapped surfer, I believe it was, and he is essentially late to the lesson, and High Tide insults him so badly, so much that he gets Cody angry. You know, things are bad when Cody is angry, and when Heatwave also takes one for the team, he protects his team, which is amazing to see. Have I mentioned I love Heatwave's development from the show? I guess I'll talk a little bit more than episodes that are more focused on Heatwave are gonna come, but yeah, I love Heatwave's development, and the episode essentially ends with the sea on fire, so that's something interesting to see. And by the end, High Tide does become a little bit gentler, although he's an old guy, right? Old guys change habits hard. So, on spot 77, we have the 25th episode of season 3, More Than Meets the Eye. Doc Green's sister, Maura the Magnificent, who is also a magician, pays a visit to Griffin Rock as an injured case force to uncover many mysteries. Chase finds that Maura is unaware that her new assistants are Miles and anyone who are using Maura's invisible clothes to commit the latest crime spree. So, yeah, Maura is Doc Green's sister. She's actually a really nice character. It's kind of a pity we only get to see her in this one episode. And as mentioned, Chase gets her because he tried to intervene in her act, and he essentially takes Cody's place in the command center, so he's the communications expert. I'm not sure how that position is called, but he helps from the command center, and that doesn't go quite well. There's also a joke with Frankie being a spy. Yeah, it's an enjoyable episode. My only grievance is that Maura isn't shown more often because she's actually quite amazing. So, in spot 76, we have the second episode of season 3, Big Game. As Optimus Prime works to get used to his primal mode, the rescue bots works to keep him from causing havoc on Griffin Rock. A big game hunter named Colonel Quint Quarry arrives on Griffin Rock to target Optimus Prime, where he hunts him on Quarry's Fireland. Another rescue bots rescue Cody and Optimus Prime. So, this episode is essentially the unofficial second part of Land Before Prime. So, Optimus scanned his dinosaur mode, and he stayed on Griffin to get used to it. I believe they say it directly. He stayed on Griffin to get used to that form. And he organizes this race, and that's when he's captured because Quarry sees him lose control and he thinks he's just a robot dinosaur. But Cody was inside, that's why they had to say Cody and Optimus. So we go on Quarry Safariland, and there is a chase. They eventually find them, and thanks to Boulder being careful, they managed to find an antidote to the quirks of biological forms that the bots have to take in order to turn into dinosaur, because as I mentioned earlier, there are consequences, and these consequences that if they are not careful, the dinosaur instincts will take over in their dino forms. So yeah, I like it way better than the season premiere, although I suppose you could argue this is the second part. Anyway, I like this episode. So, in spot 75, we are not going too far as it is the third episode of season 3, Too Many Kids. A charity game is occurring with Rock at the same time when Dogwin's imaging chamber starts making clones of kids' waking thoughts. After Dogwin's imaging chamber creates exact replicas of him with different personalities as part of a demonstration, quite humorous but showcase a valuable lesson in teamwork when it comes to gas leak at the natural gas reserve. They are training for this charity game. Cade is being bossy. And when they had this trope, because I know for sure this is a trope, when one person gets split into multiple persons, which are different aspects of their personalities. Although here they were made as jokes of rescue bots. The clones have rescue bots personalities, in fact. But obviously they are exaggerated. And my favorite scene in this episode is when Haley comes to confront Cade. Cade doesn't know if he can probably do this to apologize, and Cody encourages him, and Cade successfully does apologize, with goes on to show that Cade is a softly on the inside, as Heatwave said in one episode. So, in spot 74, we have the 26th episode. I have heard the Bravo singing, and oh my god, I'm so excited about this one. This one is going to be a longer segment. You're gonna see why, but I'm excited to share this with you. So, the episode goes as follows. During the auditions for Griffin Rock Idol and the Rescue Bots broadcast to the Rescue Bots new recruits, everyone in Griffin Rock starts singing thanks to Doc's new invention called the Tana Turner. After an accident with Huxley Prescott's van, where Priscilla Finch plays the Tana Turner she took to improve her singing, near the climax of the episode, the Burns family roamed to rescue by singing a remix of their theme song. So, the episode itself, of course, it's a joke episode. It's a bad Broadway attempt, but it's bad in a way that again, this depends. If you are a long time fan, you are going to find this hilarious. It's a bad Broadway thing, but it's the kind of bad that you can laugh at least. But this is not what I'm excited about. The more exciting part is that, allegedly, there has been an interesting leak about this episode. So some deleted scenes leaked. Now I'm not going to give a source because I am not sure where this came from. I know where I found it. It was on Russian social media. Of course it was on Russian social media. But I don't want to get anyone in trouble because I don't know how we got it, but they seem to be legitimate deleted scenes because the actual actors, you can hear the actual voice actors there. And I'm going to give, for this one episode, some highlights of what could have been. So there is an extended version of Doug Green's song when he is on the phone with Keith. There is also an entirely deleted song where Mayor Lasky and Mr. Lauper, his assistant, they see that everyone is singing well, and we decide, we can break through, which makes sense. This is in character, but we never get to see this tourist idea in the final episode. But I'm assuming the tourist idea would have led to Huxley getting angry and pushing the Tuna Turner too much, and which led to the climax of the episode with all the windows breaking. But my favorite deleted scene, which I'm going to try to put up some images. I cannot show the video, I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to try my best to describe it to you. So this scene of the gun during the presentation for the recruits. In the original episode, Cade and Heatwave both are self-conscious about singing in public, but they quickly agree that they're going to try it together. In the original, however, there is an extended version of that scene where they essentially argue season 1 style, and it's so hilarious as well because I believe one of the lines was I wish I never knew you. I wish that were true. I can't reproduce the melody right now, but it's essentially the same melody as in the scene where everyone sings together when they barely starting singing and they are asking what is happening. So it's that melody. And then in Hugh Burns, which is actually a notable difference, because in the final episode, Hugh Burns is not present during that scene, but here he clearly was present during that speech of Butts, and he stops them. And that is where a scene that we actually do see in the final episode plays out. Salvage tells them to do what they do best. And that's when we transition into a song that actually did survive. It's Banza Family. It plays at the end of the episode during the credits. You can listen to it that way. But it's an extended version of Banza Family from the end credits. And the animation, oh my god, it's so awesome. They all sing together, and then there is literally one scene where Keith lifts Cody up on the shoulder. That's my favorite part, and it's so sweet. I'm so sad they cut that song. I guess we were out of time, but I'm so sad. So yeah, this is the only episode, but has this deleted scenes leaked, which is why I can talk about them. Other episodes don't really have anything leaked, but I was really excited to share at least the deleted scenes from here. So in spot 73 we have a 20th episode of season 4, The Need for Speed, which I believe is the name of an actual movie, so yeah, there is definitely a reference here. Blur's features a rescue becomes very complicated when the mini criminal bounce arising with run with sideswiping hot pursuit. When isn't Blur's features a rescue but complicated, let's be real. But essentially, yes, Sideswipe. So if you didn't know, Sideswipe is part of a main cast from Robots in Disguise, which essentially is part of a line continuity, so they happen in the same universe essentially. And this is the episode where he comes as a guest to Griffin Rock, and Blur is considering going on Bumblebee with him because he thinks he can help their better because he's a fast car, and ultimately he is convinced to stay because he has very good reflexes and he saves some pedestrians, if I remember correctly. So yeah, at the end I guess he discovers that he can use that speed as very good reflexes, and he stays as a rescue bot. Although in Robots in Disguise, Blur goes as a guest as well. There is an episode where Blur is present, and there is a whole other kind of drama there, but I'm not gonna get into it here because this is Rescue Bots, not Robots in Disguise. So in spot number 72 we have the episode Pizza Pie Party. Doug Green's New Year's dimension causes trouble in Griffin Rock's Pizza Pie Festival. So the gist of the episode is that there is this pizza festival. There is another plot with Cody essentially being a hoarder, an emotional hoarder, which, to be fair, that is in character. But there is this whole thing when he decides to let go of some things. But the main focus is, of course, the dog that goes out of control, and they end up making a giant pizza out of it, which, aside from the 101 food safety regulations that were not followed, I don't think Papa, the one and only Papa, would Papa Louie, but that's what his name was. Papa Louie wouldn't approve of this. So, in spot 71, we have a 15th episode of season 4, King Burns. While having to save some gorillas from danger, Chief Charlie Burns learns that their sons are heirs to Griffin's kingdom. Why Chief Charlie Burns? Chief Charlie Burns wasn't even on Griffin Rock when they find out. He was helping Woodrow in Africa. And in the meantime, they find the charter, and yes, Horace Burns, their ancestor, was after kingship, but spoiler alert, but I mean, if you are watching this video, you already know what happens in the show. So Horace declined kingship, so we're not a royal family after all. Aside from a gorilla plot, the gorilla plot is serious because they have to help the gorillas escape the volcano, but the king plot is hilarious. So interesting juxtaposition. Although ultimately the lesson is the same. It's about being a good leader. So in spot number 70 we have episode 22 of season 4, Brush with Danger.
The biggest douche of the universe. In all the galaxies, there's no bigger douche than you.
A noble movie star Murray Darfhauser arrives at Griffin Rock for his next Nathan Danger film when his stunt double Skip Scubble secretly causes trouble for Cody and the rest was by targeting their books. Oh no, yes, but no good movie star Murray Darfhauser, or Maven Danger, because he likes to be called Maven Danger, because he obviously is very high maintenance, he's a nuisance, and in the meantime his assistant wants this one rare book which was borrowed by Frankie, and when she lends it to Cody. Yes, I think that's how it goes in the episode. And speaking of, there is one scene in the episode where the assistant Skip looks at the console in the lab and he finds that picture of what seems to be like Cody's birthday, so that's an interesting detail. But yeah, this was a reality check episode, let's say, about how movie stars can be in real, although not every movie star is like that. Obviously there are persons who are very nice even in real life, but so, in spot 69, we have the 19th episode on season 4, Once Upon a Time. Cody and Professor Buzz attempt to solve a mystery of a falling greeting spruces. So, spruces are trees. So, trees are falling and they are sick. This episode obviously pays homage to fairy tales, Once Upon a Time. So, if I remember, it pays homage to Little Red Riding Hood, to Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Hansel and Gretel. At least that's one that I can recall off the top of my head. And they also have this through line with fairies. That's the main through line in the episode, actually. And it's the sort of thing where they're like, maybe they do exist after all. So it's a beautiful episode if you look at it as an homage to fairy. Actually, it's a nice episode overall. Yes, and it's a nice homage to fairy tale. So, in spot 68, we have the 18th episode of season 4, Camp Cody. Graham and Cody disguise blades while helping him participate in a pioneer ceremony at camp. It's a craft scene where it is run by a woman named Chickadee. So they, as mentioned, go to camp. It's a light pioneer camp. Essentially, they graduate to a higher level, and Blades is upset that initially he is told he cannot go because he is not human, and on Griffin Rock that's fine, but on the mainland they never quite find out about the bot, so he obviously can't participate in those activities. We go to It's a Craftsy, and there is that whole plot with the emeralds, and Chickadee wants to find the emeralds. And it actually gets rather dark. She traps them in the cave and she threatens she won't let them go unless they find the emeralds. It's rather dark. Luckily, they find their way out thanks to Graham. Graham wins an honorary badge actually because he. In this episode, it's revealed that he used to be part of Allied Pioneers until he was essentially bullied out of it, which is sad. But he wins his final honorary badge in this episode, which is beautiful. So yeah, there is a lot of wacky scenes, darker scenes, there is a little bit for everyone. So on spot number 67, we have a 14th episode of season 3. Did you see that I thought? On paper, Diana, the Burns family, and the rescue bots look for energy where they find a caveman frozen in ice within a defrosting ice cave. After the caveman is followed out in Doctor's lab, where it is discovered that he's wearing an energy necklace. When Bruce was trying to help the caveman, but Boulder named Ira, adjusts lighting with round, blazing hit way to look for energy on the Burns family, and Doctor working to keep Ira's true nature from Alaska, and visiting Mrs. Dumont. Yeah, they find Ira. This is actually rather sad episode because they thought Ira, he realizes he's never going to see his people again. He's so many years into the future now, and he realizes he can never really go back home. Yeah, it's a rather sad episode, and they also make this parallel to how the bots cannot go home, which is also a tearjerker. And yeah, we're hiding him from Merlasky. Ultimately, Ira goes on to live on Baber Island. He is mentioned, but he is never seen again. And this is also the first episode where they hint at Salva Gimbler. So, in spot number 66, we have the 17th episode of season 2, Bots and Robbers. Miles and Evans steal a Meganite from the museum where we use it to power their tech record to disable all of Griffin Rock's technology. While the Burns family tries to save Griffin Rocket by expense of modern technology, he has learned about the detective movies and uses his imagination to be like a film detective where he goes undercover upon Miles and Evan carjacking him. Yeah, essentially, the main plot of the episode is Kane's undercover, as mentioned. So this happens because Cody suggests detective films to him, but his mistake is that he never tells anyone his plan. Actually, I don't think he was even intending to do it. He just came up with the idea on the spot when Evan and Miles carjacked him. And by the way, Evan and Miles are so bad in this episode, for lack of a better term. They almost run Chief Burns over, and then they blatantly steal his car right in front of him. So yeah, not very good. So in spot 65, we have the 15th episode of season 2, Body System. Chief Charlie Burns heads up the Light Pioneers craft group while using the body system in their hack. A bunch of snakes break loose from their crates that were bound for the Griffin Rock Zoo. Due to the keys to the body bracelets accidentally getting broken by Jerry's truck, the hacking group now has to head to the EMP zone to get them off while the rescue bots round up all the escaped snakes. We're doing this hike. They divide in pairs, and because of broken bracelets, there are obviously a lot of shenanigans with the pairs stuck together. Notably, there is the plot of Danny and Kate. They have the hardest time in all of this. There is another plot with Frankie originally feeling uncomfortable because she didn't partner with Cody, but eventually she learns to open up to other persons as well, namely Haley, which I think is a really cute plot line for her. There are snakes, creepy, but the most important plot line here is Chief Burns has a crush on, what was her name? Karen? Yes, that name didn't range very well, Karen. It's not spelled like that Karen. I believe it has a different spelling. But yeah, they have a crush, but it never goes anywhere, which is interesting because Doctrine and Baranova end up married, so why did they do it with two parents? I suppose we didn't want to do it twice. So, in spot number 64, we have the 7th episode of season 2, Prescott Spots. Huxley Prescott's reality show called Huxley Prescott Spots puts the risk of in grave danger. Mostly their identity. Because Huxley basically forced the show to happen, and now he films them all the time. They don't want to reveal their identities. Classic risk about stuff. He ends up causing fake emergencies, so yeah, it's really chaotic. Not much to say about this episode, really. Just that Huxley learned his lesson. In spot 63, we have the 23rd episode of season 3, Four-Legged Hero. The undercover status operates about is in danger by Servo, and Mrs. Lasky's dog, Oopsie, starts getting involved with Servo, which causes some mayhem and wrong. So Servo is High Tide's Cybertronian dog. He's a helper bot, I believe they call him. And he essentially becomes the part-time pet of Risk, but he isn't present in all the episodes, especially in season 4 after he moves on the mainland. But at least he's present in episodes after this one. We don't forget him. And Poopsie becomes involved, so it, I guess, like Servo, and causes trouble. They blame Servo, but eventually they clear his name because they find out that he's only been trying to keep Poopsie safe. So, in spot 62, we have the 23rd episode of season 1, Shake Up. Seaspeak may shake remote, but they are artificial and caused by a reverberating woofer hidden underground. Such a loudspeaker is inadvertently connected remotely to Doug Green's jukebox, where Doug Green is practicing his dance moves. Meanwhile, Frankie creates a music video that includes footage of Rice, but suspicious. She follows planning to a tunnel during the mission to remove a loudspeaker inside and attempts to converse with Heatwave. When rocks are falling from the tunnel, seeing Heatwave breaks from his robot character to save her, during which finally learns the rest was secret. Okay, she doesn't learn the secret in this episode. It's actually in the time travel episodes, which are coming later. But she is suspicious, so this episode ends with does she know, doesn't she know, so we're not sure, which is actually a pretty funny joke in the episode. But yeah, she follows the bots into danger, she almost gets crashed, all the typical risk bot drama. Actually, before I forget, the scene that I like the most, aside from Heatwave risking revealing his identity, that one I like as well. I like what we mentioned Cody went to pick up Frankie, knowing that her leg was in a cast. She was essentially bound to a wheelchair temporarily. So that was really nice, as well as the aforementioned scene with Heatwave risking revealing. In spot 61, we have the 21st episode of season 1, The Hunting of Griffin Rock. The guns receive mass calls of course supposedly hunting Griffin Rock. In an analysis conducted by Frankie, these supposed phantoms are revealed to be as rules for the escape convicts to engage in criminal actions and artists. Pioneer Charlotte Lane, also known as the Lady of Griffin Rock, however, is witness to the potentially real ghost because she has never been registered into the town museum's database, so there is no corresponding hologram for her. So this episode mostly has a lot of ghost jokes, but that keeps the Bernsteins rather busy because they have to chase all these ghosts. Obviously, they don't believe in ghosts, and yes, this was a plan by Evan and Miles. Is this first episode where Evan and Miles appear? I believe so. Yeah, I think this is their introduction episodes for Evan and Miles. And yes, at the end there is this mystery with Charlotte Vane, which she is actually mentioned at least one more time in the show, so whether you believe it or not. So in spot number 60, we have the 5th episode of season 5, Real Animation of Griffin Rock. Axel Prescott is determined to dig up scope about aliens invading planet Earth. However, he finds that his enthusiasm could indeed put many people in danger. Whereas scopes are also question where this guy is staying the robot image for the public instead of revealing their true identity. So here there is a lot of humor with public panicking because of the aliens. Even the bots are afraid, although I'm not sure why they are afraid. Is this supposed to be a taste of your own medicine sort of situation? Also, I love how there is a scene where Doc Green comes to be SETI, I believe it's called, to a dish Huxley uses to intercept those radio signals. And he doesn't even listen to Huxley's nonsense. He's immediately like, you left it in a red zone, didn't you? Also, another scene I liked is when we are in the power grid, power stations. Oh my god, I forget how it's called. The place where they control the electricity on the island. Maybe I'm going to remember, but the older Burns are there, and then Cody, because there was a power outage, he goes to look for his family. That's a really cute scene, how he was worried for them. And when the bots have to go save the day alone, which is what actually starts the arc of Frankie being suspicious of the bots.